the crazy thing is, and like I don't think I've ever talked about this.
Flex Lewis, you're straight out the lair. Today's guest is a 5-time ADCC world champion, a 2-time IBJJF no-gi world champion, and a 4-time Eddie Bravo Invitational champion. He is recognized by those in his discipline as the greatest no-gi grappler to ever live, and he's only 27. Here's a podcast with the king, Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan, the greatest of all time, mate. Welcome to the Dragon's Lair.
Happy to be here. This is awesome, Jim. We were here yesterday, and it's very unique. I like the dragon skin on the machines.
Yeah, it's well, first of all, you and I have been trying to get together for a fucking minute. We were talking for a while, back and forth. I know you can't remember. I should have actually looked back to when the first, you and I started speaking. It was it before COVID? After COVID?
Yeah, it was a while ago. We initially started talking, and then once you realized that I had stomach issues, then we started talking a lot more.
We talked a lot more. I think at one point in time I was going to you and asking you, so what are you doing? And vice versa. But
yeah.
You touched on that subject. I think we just cracked the lid on that, mate.
Yeah.
For athletes around the world who have seen me go through what I've done, and I've spoken openly, honestly about it, and then to see you, move up to where you are right now, put a significant amount of weight on, muscle, and struggle with your appetite. Has this been all your career or towards the last couple of years?
No, 2017 ADCC. Like, for those of you who don't know, ADCC is like our Olympics. So it's like the Olympia of jiu-jitsu. 2017 ADCC, I was fine. And then I had recurring staph infections on my skin in 2018. And I was taking oral antibiotics. I think in 2018, out of the 365 days in the year, I must have been on antibiotics for like between like 280 and 300
Holy
days.
Shit,
like
yeah.
I was on antibiotics way more than I was not on antibiotics. Like I would get staph, and then I would be on antibiotics for like 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks. Then I'd be okay. 2-3 days would go by, staph again, antibiotics. 2-3 days, staph again, antibiotics. And the worse my stomach got from the antibiotics, the more my immune system's trying to fix my stomach. The weaker my immune system is, the easier it is to get staph. So you get staph, and then you take antibiotics, and it destroys your immune system in your stomach, and then you get staph easier, and you get caught in this loop where it's just like you're just getting staph, taking antibiotics, getting staph, taking antibiotics, and then then it just ruined my stomach. And then from ever since 2018 on, my stomach's just been destroyed, and no doctors for like 4 or 5 years were able to figure out what caused it. And now finally I have a guy who's working with me. I never asked you, what is like, when did yours initially start? Was there like one event that triggered it, or it was just like you woke up one day and you were nauseous?
Well, for me, I can remember going through all my career with issues in my stomach. Okay. And I think it started, and this is the God's honest truth, when I came to the US. And I think the difference in food and the difference in supplements, and back 15 years ago, I was probably taking various different supplements, different flavors, different artificial sweeteners, and that's when I started remembering having like significant difference in my appetite, issues with acid reflux, and the list goes on. But then it sort of compounded over the years, got worse and worse and worse, and I would say probably the last 4 years of me holding that title, and I had to suffer to get into the weight, is when I had more issues, because then you're destroying your bile and flora and trying to suck into a weight class that you're not supposed to be in.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrendous at itself. And then you're dealing with issues with, I don't know, you and I can relate. In fact, we spoke yesterday at great length about all the similarities we've gone through. But I had several different things that were going on. I had lack of appetite. I had acid reflux. I had pain, upper tract abdominal pain, and then I had the nausea. And the nausea for me was the fucking hardest of all.
The worst. Like, for me, I didn't have any pain. It was just nausea, a lot of burping. I get full soon. Like, I eat like 2 eggs. I used to be able to eat a lot. Like, I used to be able to eat like 4,000 or 5,000 calories in a sitting when I was like in high school and coming out of high school. And then like now I'm like, some days like I would train like 4 sessions in a row. I'd do like 3 jiu-jitsu sessions, and I would like lift, and I'd get home, and I'm like, I haven't eaten all day. How am I not hungry? I had like 2 or 3 spoonfuls of soup, and I'd be like, I'm full and I'm nauseous. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And no one could figure it out. You know, most stomach doctors are useless. They just do like generic blood work. They do a colonoscopy. Some of them, they do an endoscopy, and they're like, oh, you're fine. I'm like, I'm definitely not fine. Like, you know, and so for years I was like, I'm just going to deal with this. Hopefully it gets better. And then, you know, I'll just compete and, you know, train until I can, and hopefully it gets better. And then one day, like when I stopped competing, like for those of you who don't know, I retired for a year, which is kind of silly because I'm only 27 now. But like when I was 25 or 26, I like had to like took like a leave of absence from competition, because not only could I not like train and compete properly, I couldn't even like function like a human being. Like I couldn't even hold a conversation. I remember like the worst experience like pretty much in my life, I guess, it would probably be like when I went on Rogan for the first time. And I went on Rogan, and I was like traveling because I was looking to buy houses in Austin, and I was eating restaurant food like in Austin, which I couldn't do it all at the time. And I just remember getting to Rogan and being like, I am so nauseous. Yeah. I am going to die. Like, I'm just like an inch away from throwing up, but I'm like, I can't tell Joe Rogan that I can't do his podcast right now. I'm like, he invited me. It was like the first time I'm like friends with him now, which like if I was dying, I would just tell him. But you know, it was like my first introduction to him, and he invited me to do the show. And I'm like, I can't like be a pussy and just tell Rogan like, hey man, I really can't do this podcast. But the whole podcast, I'm just struggling, like sipping water, like I'm like, just keep it down. And I have no recollection whatsoever of what we talked about. I was so nauseous. I would just like hold it together. And I'm like super monotone. I'm not smiling. And everyone's like, man, from the first Rogan podcast to the second one, like you're like a completely different person. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't going to throw up on the second one. Like I'm like laughing and smiling on the second one. But when I had to retire, I like basically couldn't even function as a human being. It wasn't even like, oh, my training's not going so great. It was like, no, I can't hold a conversation with people. I have to like get up and walk away and like go to my whole career, my professional career was from 2016 until current date. So 2016, 2017, I was okay. And 2018 to 2022, my stomach was messed up. And that's when I was winning all of the big championships.
That's incredible, bro.
And, but like for like at least an hour to an hour and a half a day, I would be in the bathroom. I would never actually throw up, but I would be in the bathroom like just sitting next to the toilet, like I'm gonna throw up at any moment. So I'd have like an hour out of the day. I'm like, oh, just gotta sit in the bathroom until it goes away.
Yeah, you just same with me, like dry heaving, right?
Yeah.
I got your guys are coming in behind you. Yeah, take over.
What's up?
What's up, guys? Yeah, and that, man, again, people have zero clue that. I mean, a lot of the stuff you're saying right now, I've gone through myself. Yep. The day of the competitions, the day before the competitions, literally like dry heaving, and then for me everything is carbon up or depleting, etc. So again, what year was that again? That you went through that?
That was from 2018 to 2000. I mean, till right now, I'm still not 100% better. I'm like probably 70% better now. But even like now, like I'm talking to you, and like I still feel a little bit nauseous. Like I'm never like not thinking about it. I'm always like slightly nauseous. I'm always like concerned, like. For the longest time, for 4 years, I'd have to base my life, as you know, around nausea. Like every time I walk into a room, I would be like, "Oh, there's a garbage can in case I have to throw up." Like,
this is so crazy, bro.
And then do like before competition, I would do like 24-hour fast because I could kind of manage it better like that, and then just pound like Zofran, like an anti-nausea, like a prescription anti-nausea. I just eat Zofrans like candy.
Fuck yeah, you bro. I'm so like, fucking wild, man.
I'm like, you know what? Maybe it goes away one day. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. And then I was like, because when you're in camp, like preparing for a competition, you know, you're not gonna fly to LA. You're not gonna fly to New York. You're not gonna do all the doctor stuff. You're just getting ready for competition. So I'm like, I can't do both. I'm like either gonna keep competing, which I can't do, or I'm gonna, find a doctor to actually help me. So then I was like, I'm not competing. I was like scheduled to do like 5 or 6 big things that year, and I pissed everybody off. I'm like, guys, I can't do it. Like I gotta figure this out. And then my buddy Mo, who actually organizes ADCC, he had H. pylori and he had a parasite, and he would get terrible pains in his chest. He thought he had a heart attack like 4 times. He went to the hospital, and he found this guy in L.A. Named Dr. Rabar. And for like 2 years, he was like, "You gotta go to my stomach doctor. You gotta go to my stomach doctor." Like he went to all around the world, all the best GI doctors in the world, and no one could figure it out. He like even went to the guy who invented the H. pylori test, and he couldn't figure it out.
Jesus.
And like Dr. Rabar like had him like fixed in 2 weeks. Like he's like, I think it's you have like H. pylori, and they did like a different way to test for H. pylori, I think. And then and then he found the parasite, and he treated him. 2 weeks later, he was perfectly fine. And I hate going to LA, so I put it off for years. And then I went on Rogan, and then I have 10,000 different GI doctors reaching out to me, like, "Oh, we can help you." So I'm like, "Well, who do I pick?"
Yeah.
So I was like trying to go one at a time, and then they diagnosed me with gastroparesis because I did a stomach emptying test, and I was emptying within normal range, but for like a 70-year-old. Like I was like right at the upper limit of normal. But they're like, "You're an athlete, you shouldn't be emptying this slowly." So they're like yeah, we think it's gastroparesis. So they're treating me for gastroparesis, and 8 months goes by, I'm dying for 8 months, and the treatment's not working because I don't have gastroparesis.
Yeah.
So I met this guy, Rabar, in California, and he goes, "No, I think that you actually have a fungal overgrowth in your intestine, and everything's backing up into your stomach, and it's mimicking the symptoms of gastroparesis." He's like, "I don't think you're emptying slow because your stomach's not contracting. I think you're emptying slow because you have a fungal overgrowth." And he based on my symptoms, he told me what he thought I had, and then he ran the tests, which were tests that like no one else has ever run, and it was exactly what he thought it was.
Incredible.
And when you run like generic blood work, all of my blood work was like pretty good. And then he like ran these tests for like all different kinds of myotoxins and everything. And the best was the worst one that I had was like 0 to 5, I think was like normal. And then like 5 to 10 was moderate. And then like anything over 10 points, like whatever they were tracking, was high. Mine was 555.
In what?
It was some kind of toxin.
Fuck.
So it was like anything like 0. It was supposed to be 0 to 5, and mine was like over 500. It's like I was just like, yeah, like I don't know, like so now everything. Now I'm on treatment for like a year and a half, and everything's back like from way in the red into like the yellow category. So like he said like another year and a half, 2 years, I should be back to normal, and I'm just like, okay, like as long as I can compete and I'm getting better, I'll take it. Have
you changed your diet in any way because of the fungal? Because obviously there's certain foods that will prolong that.
Well, when I initially started getting bad, anything fried I couldn't eat. Anything spicy I couldn't eat. Like fast food I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat red meat for 4 years.
Basically all the good fucking shit.
Yeah,
man.
I know. I lived in New York. The only redeeming quality for me about New York is the food, and I couldn't eat it while I was there. So I couldn't eat anything. I was basically just limited while it was real bad to like vegetables, rice, chicken, eggs, and fish. And then I did a test with him, and my mercury was too high, so he's like, "You got to stop eating fish." So I just said like eggs and chicken, and then like rice and like some pasta. I couldn't eat red meat. Now I started eating red meat because it's getting better. And I was like telling you yesterday, I feel like when Popeye eats the spinach and like all the spinach blows out to his muscles, I eat red meat. I'm walking around, I'm like flexing. I'm like, yes, I feel powerful. like 30 minutes after I eat it, I'm like, yeah, my veins are popping in my arms. So now I can eat a lot better. But it still goes in waves. Like it's still hard. Like he tried to. I'm on an oral antifungal, fluconazole. And he tried to wean me off of it right after ADCC. I was taking it 1 pill a day every day. And then we went from 1 pill a day to 6 times a week, 5 times a week, all the way down to 2 times a week. And I was on it 2 pills or 1 pill twice a week. So 2 pills a week for 2 weeks, and all my symptoms started coming back. And then he put me back on it. But now like I'm still not, I don't feel as good as I did before ADCC. So he put me on that antifungal and another antifungal.
You don't?
I don't feel as good now as I did before ADCC. I felt better before ADCC because I was still on the antifungal. I felt like when I went off the antifungal, everything came back. And he's like, yeah. He's like, your body seems to be holding on to this fungus for some reason. So we're going to put you on this. We're going to put you back on this, and we're going to put you on another stronger antifungal in combination. he's like, this is the strongest one we have, so let's hope it works. I'm like, all right, it sounds good.
Yeah, well, I know, again, we've had so much relatable dialogue over the last, like, day. And when you were telling stories and I'm telling stories, we're both like, no, didn't laughing. Because listen, mate, to be honest, I have not met anybody that is at the top of the tree in any sport that has remotely similar issues to what I dealt with. So it's kind of like, and I told you this earlier, but it's kind of like, it fucking sucks when I say this, but it's like, it's kind of refreshing to know that you have battled through this and achieved fucking greatness. And for all the viewers that are listening to this and all the viewers that are watching this, I mean, you guys know what I had to battle through. I kind of more so after when I retired, I became more vocal about it. Yeah. Because I didn't want to use anything as a crutch to be like, oh,
you don't make excuses for it because, exactly. It's like if you lose, it's like, oh, everyone's, same thing with me. Everyone's like, oh, if he loses, he's just going to blame his stomach. I'm like, no, I just want to, like, be open with the fans about, like, what I'm struggling with. So, I can help people. Like, if I find a solution, I know there's other people who have stomach issues. But I started talking about, when I stopped competing, I was like, yeah, guys, I gotta. Then I like came out and I talked about it a little bit, but I talked about it like a lot. Like I can't compete anymore because of this. Same it's reason.
Crazy, yeah. And the nausea for me, and also relatable to you, is like waking up every fucking day, and some days are good, some days are bad, and like you just don't even know what you're going to wake up to, and then you could say, oh, it's because I ate this yesterday, when it could be something that happened fucking 48 hours ago, and you always want to put stock into the next big thing, and everybody's got advice, right? Oh, you should try fucking charcoal, or you should try fucking, I know you'll laugh because you've heard it, right? And everybody's got like, I know what it is. I mean, okay, what is it? H. pylori, fucking done it. Blown into this bag, shit in this fucking box, shit in the fucking blood from this. It's like done. And nobody could give me any answer other than, you good, kid, your blood work looks amazing. But it's still not fucking right. I've had scans, I've had dyes put in me, I've had all this whilst in the middle of fucking Olympia prep. Didn't shy a word in it, didn't say a word, didn't show anything about it, because again, for me, this was more of a put the stripes on and the eyes military thing. I'm going to do this, fuck everybody else. If I've got this crutch right now, can you imagine 100% version of me? And that's the scary thing. I never was able to see the 100% version of myself because the issues and the appetite. Do you think anybody's been able to see the 100% version of you?
Oh no, 100%. Like that's like when I started like lifting with Nat, our goal by now for sure was to be like walking around at like 260, like between 260 and 270, and
260,
and then doing a cut to I mean, because I have a relatively big frame, so I could carry it, and then do a cut to like 245, 250 for competition.
It's a big mid.
And then, but like just trying to get, I mean, because like I'm a small heavyweight, I compete in the heavyweight division, but like everyone I fight in the heavyweight division is way bigger. Like the first guy I fought at ADCC this year was 280. And then like it's just like kind of snowballed from everyone was like over 230 this year. Besides Andre in the super fight. But I'm a small heavyweight. So I've been trying to get bigger forever, but I hit like 2017 I went from like 2016 to 2018 I went from like 190 to like 220, 225-ish. And then I haven't been able, once my stomach got bad, I haven't been able to get over 230. Like I got like up to 240 for a little bit, but I basically like hover between like 215 and 230 depending on how my stomach is. I'm getting stronger obviously because I'm lifting and aging. So I the muscle maturity is there every year more, but I haven't been able to actually put on like weight. I haven't been able to get heavier. So I'm hoping that when it gets better, I can get bigger.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Because again, everything is all digestion. Yeah. So like when the doctors I was working with, the last guy, because again, I went through like you, hired this guy, spent enough. I told fucking many people, I could have bought a small little house, the amount of money I spent on trying to get this shit together.
Yeah, 100%. I'm
no question.
I'm over $100,000 with like medicine and consultants and everything. Like, and
same.
I have like insurance, but the guy who I use now, our bar doesn't take insurance, so I have to like.
Most of the good people who fucking know their shit don't take insurance.
Yeah. So
about competition, man, we are now 3 days away, right?
Yeah, so it's what, Tuesday? So it's Thursday.
It's the Olympia week, man. I'm fucking fried here too.
Know.
You're on the Olympia weekend, which I want to preface to. You obviously your wife has competed in the fitness world. So for you guys to be here the Olympia weekend and have a competition and have a big bodybuilding fan base, walking around the gym yesterday, I was looking at a lot of athletes, especially from Brazil. They were like all pointing, they're all excited to see you. And again, this is bodybuilding. This is the bodybuilding weekend, right? So it's crazy that you have such a big following in the fitness space. And I think that I test that to being not only great at what you do, the mindset, how you personify your success, your wins, and how you talk things into existence, and also what you look like. Again, a lot of athletes, bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts will look at you and go, fucking hell, the ultimate athlete, right? Because you walk, talk, and act and live one toe, I just say toe, because it's a foot, in the world of bodybuilding somewhat, right? You mean training and stuff like that. So is it cool to be the Olympia weekend to see so many fans in the fitness space recognize you? And
yeah, it's awesome. It's always cool just to see fans in general and to see other people who are working towards not the same goal, obviously, but a similar goal. Like they understand what it's like, and having that around, and they know each other too, because she competed. She was like the first Brazilian, I think, to win the Arnold Classic.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
So it's definitely cool. Being around that level of talent, competition week is pretty exciting, and it's cool too because I see them doing like the crazy workouts, and I train with Nat, and I'm like, yes, I'm like, finally someone else is like sharing my pain. The worst I was like telling you yesterday, like I'm like nauseous to begin with, and then like I have to do like one of her workouts, which is just like insane, and I'm just like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this today, man. I was like, every like leg day, like we've been working out for 5 years. I think I finished like 5 leg days on just like off days when my stomach's feeling okay. But it's just like, I'm like, what do you mean you want me to do like 4 sets of 25 between leg press and squats with like no break? I'm like, I'm not doing that right
Savage.
now. I'm not doing that right now. Which thankfully for jiu-jitsu, like it makes more sense to have smaller legs proportional to your upper body. Just because like it's easier to pommel your legs and to lock various triangles. The more mass you have, the harder it is to lock triangles. So I actually keep my legs a little bit smaller. Thank God it actually works out, because if I needed to have big legs, I wouldn't be able to do it.
But they're not fucking small though.
They're not tiny.
No,
they're not tiny.
Certainly not fucking small.
But everyone always thinks I'm like 280 pounds because my legs aren't as big as my upper body, and I only post like pictures most of the time like shirtless with my upper body. So everyone always complains like, man, he's 60 pounds heavier than everyone. I'm like, guys, I'm 220 pounds. I'm not that big.
Yeah, it's illusion. But again, you hold that weight really well, mate. Yeah. So you're saying that there's no hope for me with these calves, and is that an easy target with calves?
You have to play a different game. You'd have a hard time locking body triangles from the back, but you can make it work.
Fuck. I was actually going to ask you about that, because a lot of fans are asking me what's next, and I know we had that little conversation about me getting into something. I don't even know. I know what I'm like though. If I get into, I can't have a hobby. I can't just fucking dabble. And I know you have the same mindset. It's like if you decided to retire, again, and you wanted to come over to bodybuilding,
you're going to do it.
You are going to be aiming to compete, and you want to be a champion, right? Because that's the mentality you have, that's the mentality I have. And I told you yesterday, it's like, I don't even know if I want to try anything new, because then I become just as obsessed as I was chasing these titles and trophies. Not to say, it doesn't work like, you're going to instantaneously, but again, to be better, that's my mindset on turning up every single day. Mentioning that too, mate, one of the things that I've taken from you over the years of following you and seeing everything you've gone through, the mindset you have is fucking incredible. And I gravitate to that, because I tell, many of the athletes and the fans that come to the gym, it's all a mindset thing. You believe, you will win. If you don't, you won't. And you have this incredible confidence that comes out prior to the fight. Well, anyway, social media, right?
Yeah.
And I fucking love that. You can even, you've given envelopes for the fans that have not known, to judges to open up after the fact, give them envelopes to basically, you're going to pick how you finish your competitors off. And it's fucking incredible. That's one of many reasons, obviously, why I love the confidence you ooze, but the mindset, mate. It's fucking incredible. It's not something you've always had.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, it gets better as time goes on because confidence is built in the gym, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're lifting with 5 other guys and you know you're posing together in the mirror and you can clearly see you're more symmetrical, you're more defined. Like the confidence comes from positive results in the gym, right? So like if you're lifting with guys and you can clearly see in the mirror, okay, I'm in better shape than this guy.
Yeah.
You're going to have confidence when you go into competition. It's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. Like if I'm trying to hit an arm bar in training and I hit 2 out of 10, I'm probably not going to be that confident when I go to competition. But if I'm, you know, working on a new move, or I'm working on that arm bar and I hit 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 arm bars, I'm like, okay, like I can do this. So there's nothing, I mean, at least now at this stage in my career, there's nothing in my life that would cause me to question my confidence. Like I do good in the gym, I do good in competition. Like I beat the best guys up in the world. So there's nothing really that, you know, would shake my confidence because I feel comfortable everywhere. And that confidence is built from, you know, positive results over time in the gym. You know, when I learn a new move, I'm not great at it. I'm not terrible either. Like I can't hit a new move on the second best guy in the world maybe on day 1, but I can hit it on, you know, a blue belt, a purple belt, a brown belt, and then I work up to the best guy in the world. So over the course of, you know, a month, 2 months, you know, I take that new move and now I'm hitting it on the second best guy in the world. And, you know, that's how you build the confidence over. It's not just like false confidence where it's just like, yeah, you know, I'm the fucking best, but it's like the guy in the bar who thinks he can fight. He's like, yeah, I'm the fucking best, but and then he goes into a fight and he just gets tired in 30 seconds and like gets beat up. So I think that true confidence is built from positive results over time in the gym.
I agree. And also, you add to something you said. So you have your style, of course, and you're able to finish guys off probably with a few moves more than anything, you know, more than others. But what you just said is you will pick a new move to learn so you can get great at it. So then you will execute it against one of the world's best. Even though you know that you could finish this guy off in one of many other ways, you want to learn something new to test yourself.
Yeah, so that's
fucking incredible, man.
That's actually one of the ways I force myself to get better. Because if I'm learning a new move and I put extra pressure on myself, where if I know I'm going to fight a guy 3 months from now and I'm working on a new move, I'll make it a point in my head to say, I'm going to finish this guy with that move. So that does 2 things. It makes it exciting for the fans, which is like, you know, the persona part of it. But on the personal level, on the technical side of it, if I say, hey, I'm going to finish a mounted armbar on you, and I put this in my head, you know, 6 weeks before a competition, and I'm like, I'm going to write this on an envelope. That's a lot of pressure. So now you know in the next 6 weeks, like, fuck, I better get better at this mounted armbar. And so you go from being good at a move to being a master at a move. And you work on the whole camp on one specific thing, and then that puts the pressure on you where you go into competition. You're like, okay, now I'm going to test it in competition. And you've been working on it the whole time. So every camp you hit a new peak, and you have like one new thing that you're like a master at now. And I've done it for arm bars, like, and then, you know, one of my matches, I didn't call the submission, but I was competing against a guy, Jacob Couch, and, you know, I didn't write it on an envelope because I like Jacob Couch, and I usually just do like douchey things to people who I don't care about. So I hit a right arm bar from mount on Roberto Jimenez, but I never really had a very good left arm bar. So the whole camp, I was working on arm bars from mount on the left side. So I'm like, I went to the Jacob Couch match, and I'm like, I'm only going to arm bar him on his left arm from mount. And so I managed to go into S mount on the left side and get close to a left arm bar, but he tapped in the pressure beforehand. But like just stuff like that. Like I'm always looking for new ways to challenge myself, and that kind of forces me into a new avenue technically.
Got you. So I know that you play like a long game too, right? You prefer unlimited time?
Yeah, I mean, no time limit is my preferred, but that's not really fan friendly. So like 30-minute matches, I think is a good medium.
Okay.
Because like my favorite thing to say is anyone could juice their way out of stuff for 10 minutes. Like, you know, these guys come in and they're big, they're strong. A lot of them have grease on. and they're sauced out of their mind. You can explode out of a lot of stuff for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But, the work rate there's such a disparity in the work rate that over time, 10 minutes goes by and, this guy has used, let's say, 80 energy points. I've used 15. And so as the guy gets more tired, I pick the pace up. Good. And the work rate over time, then when the guys get tired, you're 15 minutes in, you're 20 minutes in, you're 25 minutes in. The guy's been exploding as hard as he can, fighting for his life the first 20 minutes. And then you try to hit a submission on a guy who's exhausted. It's a lot easier than a guy who's fresh.
Got you. Yeah, because I've been watching the last couple of months. I nearly came to your last ADC. And I know that you played a lot of games going into that mentally with a lot of people, which was fun to watch. And for a fan that has a Gordon Ryan in this sport, you brought a lot of, I would say, new eyes to the sport. Like, look, listen, me being a bodybuilder, you brought me to watching, you watching you around the world. And again, there's only one Gordon Ryan. And again, I think that is such a unique element. And you're such I would say, like an athlete that is a one-off. Like, there's only one Gordon Ryan, and it's been said many times in many different podcasts. And I think with me watching you and what you've done for the sport and what you're now doing and cross-promoting and various different things, being on Joe Rogan and talking about, your health issues and how you've overcome this and still now fighting the best of the best, has fucking put so much eyes on this sport, mate. Again, and as a fan of MMA, fan of BJJ, and now obviously getting to know you personally, and everything you just said about your mindset and everything else is fucking incredible. And I think that a lot of people try too fucking hard to be personalities they're not. You just being you, and in the short time that I've met you in the office, you're a very open book, very honest, and then when you fucking talk about what you do as a craft and what you do as your day to day, you fucking snap our fingers, and that confidence is there. And I truly gravitate to you in that sense, because when I walk into that gym, that's my fucking mat. Yeah. And you're the most humble, confident, driven person. I'll talk to the person who just joined the gym day one as a fan or not, to the person who's won, several Mr. Olympias. But when I walk on that gym floor, that's when I know my mindset takes over, and it's like I'm talking to you, but then I'm talking to myself in different things. And what you're saying is fucking incredible. It gets me fucking amped up. But I want to go back to the match that's coming up, right?
Yeah, Vinny.
And with Vinny, is there anything that you've been working on different for this than any other fights?
So Vinny's interesting. So for those of you who don't know, Vinny Magalhães is he's the last guy to beat me. So we competed in 2018, and he's the last guy to have a win over me. And so I'm excited to get this one back. Vinny's interesting because Vinny's a very flexible heavyweight. He's very good at like flying submissions. He has good flying arm bars. He's very flexible. He's hard to submit. He's just a big, annoying guy. And so it's hard to take. If you wrestle him, it's hard to be heavy on his head and take collar ties on him because he can flying armbar you at any time. And then when you're trying to go into his legs and leg lock him, you can't leg lock him because it's you have to like legitimately break his leg in half in order for him to tap. He's just hard to submit all around. He's only been tapped one time at black belt, and it was by Hodger Gracie in the gi. And then he had his leg broken a second time where he didn't tap, but he ended up having to stop the fight because his tibia broke in half. His leg was like dangling around. But he's a guy who's very hard to submit, and he's super crafty and he's dangerous. We've been working on just generic like rubber guard defense for the jiu-jitsu guys listening, avoiding flying submissions, and then just going into leg locks, finishing him in various submissions. So I feel confident going in. I think that Vinny's his performances as of late haven't been as good as they used to be. But at the same time, he's one of 3 guys to beat me at black belt. I've already beaten Felipe. and then Leandro Lowe, unfortunately, isn't alive anymore, so I can't compete against him. And then, so like Vinny's the last guy that I have to beat, who's beat me at black belt. So I'm excited to add him to the list of people I beat. Plus, he's an ADCC champion, and I've already beaten more ADCC champions than anybody ever. So like, this will be like almost like my 30th ADCC medalist that I've beaten. So it'd be good to add him to the list for a few reasons.
I mean, that drive and that confidence that you have for redemption is also fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you've talked about so many different things and how you're gonna get that redemption back, and obviously you mentioned the best athletes that have ever stepped on the mat, right? So this weekend for the fans that are watching, this coming Thursday, right?
Thursday, yeah.
Where can people see this?
That's on UFC Fight Pass. So UFC now is getting pretty big into grappling, which I'm very excited about because they're a huge platform. So I think they're going to start pushing a lot more of their marketing and their money into grappling. Hopefully, I think this is like their tester, because I've done UFC Fight Pass events before, but this is like the first one where they're like really after ADCC, everyone's kind of eyes are open now. So I think
because of you.
Yeah, hopefully. And I'm trying to, and so now I'm competing on Fight Pass, and I think this is like a test for them to see like how big the biggest star, like how much revenue the biggest star can generate. So if you're a jiu-jitsu fan or a Gordon Ryan fan, you should probably subscribe to Fight Pass. So, so we can so we can get this ball rolling with the UFC, and we can really blow this sport up. So I think this is like their initial big test to see how much they're gonna invest into grappling.
Yeah, I know that from my perspective, I've seen that they've really blown it up this last week.
Yeah.
You saw, obviously, you were in town for the pay-per-view with the last UFC fight. Myself and my wife all of us were all cage side, and the love you had that weekend and seeing all the media that's been surrounding you, I think this is just going to skyrocket, mate. The UFC are really putting a lot of time and emphasis into blowing this, and again, you're the face for all this. So, I mean, who better to push this than you, right?
Yeah. I told them, they're like asking, like, we want to build a relationship. What do you want? I'm like, man, all I want is the Paddy Pimblett marketing. I'm like, this guy gets his Instagram deleted every other week, and he's got 3 million followers the next day. I'm like, that's the kind of marketing I want from you guys.
Yeah, and you mentioned the business, right? You have done an incredible job for, as an athlete who, again, BJJ has not been known over the years, just like bodybuilding, right, to be a big cash cow.
Yeah. But
there's people who have taken the platform they've been given and amplified that platform, invested into themselves, into their brand, and what you've done has been fucking incredible because, again, you've made yourself a household name. I mentioned earlier, you've been on Joe Rogan, you've been on all these different podcasts, and you've got, celebrities that are flying you out to train, you to train with them, and mutual friends of ours, and again, your brand has created this empire, and the confidence in how you have been able to put yourselves into super fights, and you've bet on yourself.
Yeah.
It's fucking incredible, man. You're a unicorn. So how did all that come about with the business aspect of things? Because that's an interest in the podcast.
So in 2016, when I was first breaking onto the pro scene and starting my brand, it was actually John who set us down, and John Danaher is our coach. He's a genius. And he basically knows everything. God, John's like the closest person to Google I could think of. Like, you ask him a question about anything, and he knows the answer. So he set us down, and he was telling us about how to build a brand. And he's like, the number one thing, the most important thing by far, is just focus on being the best in the world, and everything else will be easy. He's like, it's easy to talk shit. It's easy to do all this other marketing stuff. He's like, going out and consistently being the best guys in the world, that's what's hard. That was his number one thing. He's like, but if you look at history, he goes, the highest paid and the most well-remembered athletes were ones who were exciting. Now, there's two ways to be exciting. He's like, you can be exciting inside of competition, and you can be exciting outside of competition. He's like, a guy like GSP, for example. He was never exciting outside of competition because he didn't really talk shit. English wasn't his first language, and he was just a nice guy, so he didn't really talk shit. but he would go in and he would win consistently against the best guys in the world. So everyone knows George St. Pierre, and George St. Pierre made a ton of money competing.
One of my favorite fighters.
He's like if you look at a guy like Chael Sonnen, he's super tough. He wins, he wins all the time, but he's not a guy who like held the UFC belt for 5 years in a row, for 10 years in a row. He never held the UFC belt, but everyone knows who Chael Sonnen is because he talks so much shit leading up to the fight that they're like, who the fuck is this guy? He's like, but if you look at the people who are most well remembered and the highest paid athletes, it's people who do both. It's guys like Tyson, it's guys like Mayweather, it's guys like McGregor who can perform inside competition, and they have a way to create a draw before competition. You have Mayweather talking shit. You have Muhammad Ali talking shit. You have McGregor creating some kind of a draw where people are emotionally invested in the fight or in the competition before it happens, and then they go out and they watch you perform. They watch you beat the best guys in the world. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It does. And then, so I was trying to figure out how to run with my brand. I'm like, how should I do this? Because, I'm actually pretty quiet in person. Like if you ask me a question, I'll answer, and, I can, sit around and bullshit, but I'm not like a loud person or anything. Now, if you attack me, then it's a different story. Like I'll go back at you, but I won the EBI 6, which was like my kind of breakout tournament. It was the first time I submitted an ADCC champion, and no one knew who I was. I came in and I won. I won EBI 6. 2016, yeah. So that was like right after I got my black belt. I was 20 years old, and so I won the first big tournament. And everyone was talking shit. They're like, oh, if Yuri wasn't tired, you wouldn't have submitted him, and this and that. And I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like, man, this is really pissing me off. Well, like not pissing me off. I'm just like was like shocked as to how people could be so miserable.
Fucking 20 years old. You should be giving this guy flowers.
Yeah. And so I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and I've talked about this. I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and I saw like GSP's posts. And I know I'm like very good friends with George, and he's the nicest guy ever. There's not like a mean bone in his body. And I see his comment section, and like 85% of the comments are hate comments, just thousands and thousands of comments. And I'm like, man, if people are going to talk shit about George, they're going to talk shit about anybody. I'm like, so I may as well just say and do whatever I want and make as much money as I can, because people are just going to talk shit regardless. So then I just started talking shit back to people, and everyone was like, oh, wow, we weren't ready for that. Like we didn't expect Gordon to like respond and roast me when I commented. So that's kind of how I built my brand. It was a combination of like seeing how people treated George when he's the nicest guy ever, and the speech that John gave us about building brands. So
your George is my Ronnie Coleman, because somebody told me the exact same thing. They said Ronnie Coleman is the greatest of all time. And look how much fucking shit they talk at him. Now it's different, right? Because he's kind of gone over the hump. He's retired, but in the prime of everything, he was getting absolutely smashed, and he's the nicest guy ever. Yep. But there's a difference between me and you, though. I wish I talked a little more shit, because I probably would have made a little more fucking zeros in my bank account. But no, I went through more like the George GSP kind of model of how I do things. But you can't fake it. You gotta just be. No. You gotta be authentic. Is the biggest thing. But to your point, though, I'm still fucking Welsh. Still a fucking redhead. Yeah. I still talk shit, and I can still talk shit to the best of them if they come at me. I feel like I'm very fast-witted. If you're going to say something to me, I'll come back with something good, but it's kind of selective. So then they kind of like, who the fuck, you fucking hell. All right, flex, and then I don't get fucked with it a little bit. But you love it. And also, what I'm getting at here is you talk a lot of shit going in, or more confident shit, right? Saying what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, I'm going to beat this guy. And then when you're on the mat, a lot of people are talking shit to you. How do you keep composed when you're in that zone? When I'm in the mat, it's just being a professional at that point. Like, you have the crowd cheering or booing, whatever the case is. Like, there was like a famous thing where like Cyborg was smacking me in the face the whole time. And it's just about being a professional. I actually like it when people I'm competing against talk shit to me or get like overly physical, because I know that there's just nothing else below that layer. Like, if you're going to be like overly physical, you come out and you're shoving me or you're smacking me in the face or trying to poke me in the eyes, I just laugh, because I know that there's nothing else that you could possibly do. Like, that's it. There's nothing else after that. It's just like, you're just going to do that until you get tired, and I'm going to submit you. What is really scary
is when a guy comes out and he's calm and he knows what he's doing. You can see he's thinking about what he's doing. Now you're like, okay, I got to take this guy serious. But when a guy comes out, he's super aggressive. He's smacking his face beforehand. I'm like, yeah, this guy's a clown. Like, this is the only thing he has. He's just going to come out and try to be a tough guy, and then he's going to get finished.
Is that the same type of guy you referred to earlier, coming out fast, coming out strong in the first, if they're coming out with that energy, or is... That's
what they all do. They all come out at 100%, and I come out at, 30 to 40%, and then we meet somewhere at 50%, and then they go down as I go up, and by the time they have their energy bars at 25%, mine's at 75%, and I'm just building to a peak over the course of the match, and no one can really avoid this because no one is as efficient as me. So the work rate there's always going to be a huge disparity in work rate. So everyone's like, oh man, Gordon's never tired. His cardio is so good. Has nothing to do with cardio. Cardio is like your VO2 max, right? You can't really improve your VO2 max naturally, like over 2 to 3%. I think with EPOs, it's like 15 to 18%. You can get like real improvements. But naturally, it's hard to improve your VO2 max. But if you improve your efficiency, it'll give the illusion that you have better cardio. Like if I box Mayweather for 5 minutes, I'd be exhausted. If Mayweather did 2 minutes of jiu-jitsu with me, he'd be exhausted. It's just because we're more efficient in one another's domains. So everyone's like, oh man, Gordon's cardio is the best. Like he's just strongest. He just wins because he's like big and strong and his cardio is great. It's like, no, I win because I'm smarter and because I'm more efficient than the other guy. So the other guy's working. Everyone's strong. Everyone's tough at the highest levels. It's just because I force guys into positions where they work 3 times as hard as me. And if you're working 3 times as hard as somebody else and you're 20 minutes into a match, it's going to show. It's going to look like my cardio is better, but it's really not. Like if you have me run a mile or run, a marathon, it wouldn't be impressive at all. If you did like generic like NBA or like NFL athletic tests, I wouldn't be athletic at all. I'm isometrically strong and I can invert and I'm like pretty flexible in some ways, but that's about it.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you can come into the gym right now with me and I've trained with some of the best athletes in different sports. And after, to your point, they come in all excited. They go out to the blocks hard. It's like, this fucking guy. And then it's like, this tempo is not going to last.
Yeah.
Halfway through the session. And it's normally actually guys, like the younger guys want to try and prove something to, within my sport then, shall I say. And then out of the sport when some of the athletes come in by the end of it,
Yeah.
But again, in their crafts, I couldn't do what they fucking do. And I could be doing drills and, some of the football players I've trained with, some of the USC guys and stuff like that. It's all relative to the sport that they've been doing and homing in on and crafting on for all these years,
Yeah, 100%. Like it's like if I tried to lift weights with the Olympia guys, it like wouldn't be competitive. But then if I train with them, I would feel 5 times as strong because the body positioning is so different. So it's all relative, and it just what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to get good at? Like, I'm trying to get good at jiu-jitsu, so my body positioning is going to be good. You guys are trying to get strong, so you're going to be able to lift a lot of weights. But to your point of like coming in and being like all gun-ho about lifting, I'm like the exact opposite. I usually start slow because I'm nauseous, and then like during like when everyone else is dying, like on like the 6th to 8th exercise, I like get like 1 burp out. And I'm like, okay, I'm warmed up now. I'm ready to go. Like I'm dying the whole workout, and then just at the end, I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling pretty good. Everyone else is like dead. I'm like, I think I'm ready to do like another hour or 2.
So what you're saying is, I gotta watch. If you burp during the workout,
that means I'm fucked. I'm ready to go.
I'm fucked. Yeah. He's warmed up. I got a deep question for you. If you was to fight yourself, what strategy would you use to win?
That's tough. I think that if I was competing against myself, I'd be able to pass my own guard if I was on top. I think that if I was to plan to fight myself and I had like a 6-week or 8-week, whatever camp, it would be heavily based around standing position, because I think the guy who gets on top is going to be the guy who wins. Because I think if I took myself down, I would be able to hold myself down, and I would be able to pass my own guard. And if I pass my own guard, I think I'd be able to finish myself, or get, I think the work rate would be higher for the guy on bottom. So I think that it would be based around wrestling, standing position to take the guy down, get on top, take myself down, get on top, and then work into guard passes and submissions.
But that's what you know about yourself. So then defensively, if you knew that was coming offensively, you would fucking change that.
Yeah, then it would be, if I knew that I wasn't going to be able to play top position, it would be working on guard and bottom position and working from there. The big weakness, it's not really a weakness anymore, but like the thing that I'm least good at is standing position. Like I'm not, if I was to wrestle, even under ADCC rules, if I was to wrestle an Olympic champion, I wouldn't be dominant. It would be. I've wrestled like world champions in wrestling and Olympic level guys, and under ADCC rules, no one's gonna believe this because everyone just thinks I suck at wrestling. But ADCC rules with the wrestling is different. So I'm extremely competitive with the world's best wrestlers under ADCC rules wrestling, but I'm not beating them. Like it'll be back and forth and. Maybe I'll have a slight advantage. Maybe I'll hit a submission, every now and then. But they're putting me down to my butt. They're getting maybe they're not scoring, but they're getting an advantage. But it's competitive nonetheless. But like anything on the ground, I just crush people. So I think the biggest hole in my game right now is standing position. So if I was looking to beat myself, it would be beat me in standing position, which everyone knows. Everyone's with the Andre match. Like Andre has to keep it standing as long as he can, and try to win by takedown. But even that's hard.
Well, I'm just going to make a note. So when I start, BJJ, work on my stand-up.
Work on wrestling. Work on defense.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think, thanks. First of all, that I know that's a fucking deep question to ask at 9 o'clock in the morning at the Dragon's Lair. But you being the face of jiu-jitsu, right? Do you feel the pressure to grow the sport? And I know you've already grown the sport. As I've said earlier, I give you your props, give you your flowers, mate. You're a walk-in goat, right? And I think a lot of people in various different sports don't get the accolades they deserve until they're fucking gone. You're in your prime.
Retired,
retired. Thank you. Not gone from this earth. Well, some cases too, right?
Yeah.
But they're done with the sport. And you right now probably have the most love, the most hate, the most, again, the fuck. If anything's to do with you right now, all eyes are on you in your world, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel a pressure to continue this trajectory in what you've already done?
It's not a pressure. It's just like an interesting project to me. Like I don't. I'm one guy, and even now it's taking forever to get like the rest of these athletes on board. I'm like you fucking morons. I'm just trying to make you guys more money. like just
a lot of money too.
Stop resisting, and I'm like just work with me. Like be exciting. Like do something different that's gonna help us here. Like I can only do so much. I'm only one person.
Can you talk about the money? What type of money would that be?
So my goal over the next 5 years. Next 5 to 10 years is to get athletes making the same amount of money through competition that I'm making currently. So what I want is for athletes to be able to compete within the next 5 to 10 years and just through competition purses make over $1 million. Because right now, as you have it, you can't just, for most people, you can't just be an athlete. If you're going to be an athlete, and most athletes, even black belt world champions, ADCC world champions, they make anywhere between 50 and 250,000 at like the top end from competition. Now, 250 grand is not bad, but you make 250 grand for what, 5 years, and then what? You can't retire. You can't retire on $1 million. Like you can't do it. So you have to either move to MMA, which is a different sport. You have to open up a school, or you have to make instructionals. You have to teach privates. You have to teach seminars. So that's how people make their living now. I want it to be where an athlete can compete 3 times a year, 4 times a year, even 6 times a year, because you're not doing like an MMA camp. You're not getting punched in the head all the time. So you can compete in grappling a lot more than you can compete in mixed martial arts. So even if you can compete 6 times a year and make over $1 million, like you can live like a real athlete. Like you're not making NBA money, but you can live like you're
most definitely
kind of rich, just from competing. And then you have all the instructionals, you have all the seminars, you have everything, besides that. So I think that over the next 5 to 10 years, if we can get athletes to a point where they don't have to teach seminars. They don't have to teach privates if they don't want to. You know, if they want to, of course, do it. But they don't have to do that. They can just focus on being an athlete, competing, and making athlete money. So, you know, that's my goal. It's going to be tough because I'm trying to get these athletes on board. Everyone's just so resistant. Like, everyone wants to hate me. They're too arrogant. Like, their ego's too big to kind of accept that what I'm doing works. But I'm like, guys, like,
proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. So we'll see. You know, I think everyone kind of now. I felt like before ADCC, I was pushing like a boulder up the mountain, and then after ADCC, it kind of is rolling down the other side now. Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah, fuck it, I guess he's the best. Like, I guess it works.
We can't fight this any longer.
Yeah.
But again, I kind of interrupted you there. You were talking about the pressure side of things. I know that you thrive on it, but then also is this something you've ever felt with the gut issues that have held you back in any way? The pressure and the gut issues, because I felt it. See,
so that's the main thing. That's like the bane of my existence is like, how long can I stay healthy? Like, if I can just stay healthy, I can do it. You know, just for me, like, the only thing I truly believe I'm like 20 years ahead of people technically. I feel like there's just no one in this generation or the next generation or even the generation after that that's going to be even close, and being able to compete. But then I'm like, hey, hopefully I can just show up on competition day and I feel okay. Like, if I can just show up, like, and it's not, and it goes beyond that. Like, I know that if I can just show up feeling good on the day, it's great. But then I'm also a professional. So I can't just do a shitty camp and not be able to train the right way. And then even though I know I'm going to beat the guy, like, God forbid I lose, I will never forgive myself because I'm like, I didn't do everything I could during the camp because my stomach wasn't great. And then that just kind of, like, just thinking about that gives you more anxiety about it. And then,
fucking know, man.
Yeah, and then it's just like snowballs. And what the crazy thing is and like, I don't think I've ever talked about this, like the link between how you feel mentally and like your gut, like your stomach biome, like,
and the vagus nerve.
Yeah, I just don't believe like in anxiety at all. I'm just like, yeah, if you're fucking anxious and you have anxiety, just fucking calm down. Shut up, be a normal person, and do the shit you have to do. Like, no one cares. Like, just fucking function. But like, when my stomach was at its worst, I mean, I was having like constant anxiety attacks, like, just for no reason. And I'm just like, yeah, this is not real pussy. Just like sit there like normal, like nothing's wrong, and it'll go away, which it does. And I never had anxiety before that. Like, before like 2017, like all the way up until I was 22, never had an anxiety problem, never had anything. The second my stomach started getting bad, I started having anxiety attacks. And then the second, as it got worse, it was just every day, anxiety attack. Then my stomach started getting better, and then the anxiety started getting better. It started calming down. And now that's like 75% better. I have an anxiety attack once a month. But the link between, like, I don't want to talk, like, I hate talking about like mental health and anxiety and all this. I just feel like such a pussy. But
I think this is good because you're one of the greatest, if not the greatest in the world, and I'm relating to everything you fucking say.
But like 100%, the link between, it's not talked about enough, I don't think, in literature and science. Like, the link between how your stomach is functioning and how you feel mentally. There's such a link there. It's just like I never thought about it until I actually experienced it. But the second my stomach got bad, I had so much more anxiety. I brain fog. I wasn't feeling like you get like depressed, like thinking about it. Like, you just like, it's like just spirals like into like an anxiety, like depression. And you know, you just get up every day. You do what you got to do. You don't bitch about it. But like, and you don't. I never even talked about it until now. You know, there definitely is a link. And then the second my stomach started getting better, I feel way better mentally now.
Yeah, I know. And for me, that pressure that we spoke about wasn't like, you know, I'm going to lose pressure. It was like, fuck, I hope my stomach fucking holds up. That's the pressure I had, and I think you can relate to that. Well, I know you can by saying that, is with every prep that I done, I wasn't looking at these other athletes and going, fucking hell, he looks good, I need to step my shit up. It's because I had the title. They were all looking at me and what I was doing, and I'd hide away and I'd post these little, like, you know, a couple of 4 weeks out, fucking freak every out, you know, photos. But for the most part, I covered up. But I would always have these issues, these flare-ups, or what you call them, because it was anxiety. I call them flare-ups because I refused, like you, to be like, no, it's not getting not. Because I never had it. I was the fucking confident kid. Then all of a sudden I had gut issues, then I'd have this upper track ball, and then this anxiety. Then I could literally, and again, if my wife was in the room, she'd be probably like, holy fucking shit. This is you. This is you, just with a dyed beard, different color. Yeah. By the way, my wife loves the fucking hair and the beard. She kind of hinted to me.
It pops out.
Yeah, definitely. And I would literally be hungry as fuck, and then I'd think of like, oh, my stomach is not bad. Then it fucking starts getting bad again, and then my appetite just goes. It was like a fat burner that annihilated my appetite. So I know we were laughing and joking about that yesterday. When I would be told to fast for any type of procedure the next day when I was getting fucking...
I'd be like, yes.
I don't have to eat for 12 fucking hours. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. But again, listen, the fact that you've got to where you are with all these issues, and now thank you very much for obviously openly talking about it. It's crazy because, again, sometimes when you're going through it, it's like, fucking hell, why me? Nobody else is going through this. But really, you've done it in silence. I've done it in silence. You just have the mentality of putting the fucking hat back to front, shut the fuck up, stop moaning, stop using an excuse to, and there's always a YouTube video out there that you can watch and feel better about yourself. But for me, I felt better about myself when I fucking won.
Yeah.
And even on the day of the show, and the next day, I still couldn't even enjoy it because I had stomach issues, that probably because I ate some fucking shitty food that I did after the show to celebrate. Yeah. And the next day I've got all these fans that are congratulating me, and the one person that should be on the fucking top of the moon was not on top of the moon.
And you have like the residual stress that you were like trying to control before the competition that it just like unloads after the competition.
Yeah.
And which normally wouldn't make a problem, be an issue, but because of your stomach, it's just like all that residual stress. Like for me in camps, I like just ignore my life. Like I'm like, oh yeah, like there's like a stack of mail this big on my counter, and I just like ignore all responsibilities. And then like after a big competition, I'm like, fuck, I got all this shit to do now. And like all the residual stress that I was like trying to hold together with my stomach, then it like hits me after the competition, and then it like a lot of times would just spiral out of control, and I would just get bad. And then back to the stress, like when I was looking at I do a camp, and what I usually like to do is to gain weight for the camp, do the camp heavier, and then cut weight so I'm more athletic. So like I'm like looking at the scale and I see I'm like losing weight, and then that gives me more anxiety. And then I'm like looking at the food, and now I'm anxious because I just got on the scale, and now I'm just like, fuck, I'm not hungry to eat that food. And then it just makes it worse and worse, and I'm just like, I have a problem. I gotta figure this out.
You sure you're not a bodybuilder? Fuck me. Because for me, I jump on a scale, I'm like, and I just come back from a tour, I'm like, how the fuck did I lose 8 pounds? I ate all the time. And then I stress about that 8 pounds, and then fucking 2 days later, it's 12 pounds. But again, listen, that's the battles, mate. The biggest I've ever got was 260, and I was lean at 260. And what I was hoping to compete about was probably in the 220s. But I was all about force feeding myself, and as I told you too, I mean, I was at that point. I actually don't even know if you were ever at that point. What I was blending fucking chicken breasts and rice, and just trying to get it down, and cup of water with every meal. I know we joked yesterday we would take the wives out to nice restaurants, and both of us are cutting up our food, pushing it
around the plate,
like putting it in water,
sip of water,
fucking high-end steak, fucking $500 steak, But it's crazy, mate. But we have got a training session today, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're telling the world that, but I guess we are now. But we're gonna do a little something. But prior to us jumping off and rounding off the podcast, what more motivates Gordon Ryan? What is the one thing that you wake up every day and it's like, man, you click. Yeah. You don't have to fucking think, you just go.
So this is a question I get asked a lot because, like, you're far better than the second best guy in the world. What now? For me, everyone else is trying to compete against the best guy in the world. They're trying to be better than the best guy in the world. So that was initially my goal. I want to be better than the best guy in the world. And now I'm the best guy in the world. What keeps me going now? For me, I'm not really competing against the second best guy in the world. That'd be boring. For me, what I'm trying to do is my whole training program is built on progression over time. So my goal is to be the absolute best version of myself that I can be before I hit my physical prime in grappling. And now in grappling, you have a much later peak with athletes because it's a sport mostly based around isometric tension. It's not an explosion-based sport like boxing or wrestling, for example, where you peak much earlier. You hit the peak in isometric tension in combination with still having good cardio, somewhere between 35 and 40. After 40, 45, your cardio starts to diminish. So I think 35 to 40, you'll be as strong with the best combination of isometric strength and cardio that you have. And by the time you're 35, 40, you've been training, you're 20 years or whatever it is. So like imagine if I was twice as strong as I am now with the same cardio, but an extra 10 to 15 years of technical progression. Like that, basically that's what I'm thinking. As long as I can stay healthy, I should reach my peak sometime between 35 and 40. So my whole thing is how good can I be in the next 10 to 15 years until I go over that hump and I start to decline physically. So that's my goal. So the whole thing is just a training program which leads to progression over time. I'm not competing against the other guys. I'm competing against myself 6 months ago. I want to look back every 6 months, every year, and I want to be like, if I competed against myself at ADCC last year or the last ADCC, I would crush myself. Like if I competed against myself in 2019, it wouldn't even be competitive. And that's what I want. I want the progression over time. So every day you get the old cliche, like 1% better every day. That's like kind of what I'm trying to shoot for.
Man, that's a fucking scary thing to think about. If you are not anywhere near your prime and your peak and your maturity, as you said, the combination of everything, because I can relate, bodybuilding is the same thing. It takes years and years to get that muscle maturity.
You peak a lot later.
Peak later on, and you're not even nowhere near it. It's a fucking scary thing, mate. Yeah. It's fucking incredible. Gordon Ryan, mate, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.
For coming on the podcast today and speaking to your fans around the world. It's truly a pleasure, mate, to, pick your brain, have so much relatable things, and again, I think we all know, and from what's come out of the goat's mouth, nobody's seen anything yet. It's all yet to come. The greatest of all time, Gordon Ryan, straight out the lair, out.